What's good with the YouTube? A convict's perspective. It's your boy Flacco. Before we start this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. And on today's edition, man, I got a little special video for you guys, man. As you see, me and Rojo, we've been at a distance. I've been out of state, bouncing back and forth. I do a lot of traveling all the time, so we haven't got to get together or figure out how we can do recordings when we're not together. So I was going through the comments on one of Rojo's pages, right? And I seen a comment I want to share with you guys. And this is what I want to discuss. Let me pull it up real quick. The question is for both. This came from Mestizo 831. This question is for both Flacco and Rojo. Even though you guys are no longer active and experienced some dark times and seen that there's bad apples amongst the Norteños and big homies, do you guys still believe there is other solid and righteous Northerners, Norteños, and NFers pushing strong on the streets and behind the walls? Saludos. Salinas, Monterey County. That's a good question, man. When I heard that, I had to think about that, man. And there was times behind the wall, like I said before, where we were low in numbers, man. And there's a lot of good brothers that I met, and I still refer to them as homeboys, whether they're active or inactive. There's a lot of them that reach out to me still to this day, but they understand the circumstances of being affiliated with someone like me. So I try to keep that to a bare minimum, but I had to think about this topic, man, and, the Norteño cause, Nuestra Raza movement, the struggle and everything, the principles, the ideologies that I learned in the beginning it was for the betterment of the people. The struggle was to secure, educate, and establish behind the walls for the betterment of the people. And at that time, in the early 90s and even up to the 2000s, man, we were still faced with a lot of oppression. And see, all these organizations, right, they were bred off the threat of oppression. You know what I'm saying? Even the MA, when they initiated themselves, the El Mexicano Encarcelado, there was a threat of other races trying to oppress them that they formed a super gang within a gang. But as anything, absolute power corrupts. And that's what we came to learn within all these organizations. But what I tend, when I think about this, man, I think about both sides, whether you're on SNY or active. There's a lot of people who went SNY for bad cause. A lot of good individuals went SNY because they were just tired of this lifestyle and wanted to change. At the same time, on the active sides, there's a lot of good individuals that are pushing the hard line. There's a lot of bad individuals as well. But the core beliefs and principles of what the Norteno Collective is no longer what it used to be. It's all became about a monetary purpose. And so some of these individuals, they're like me. Some of these youngsters that are 20 years old, and, our indoctrination starts at a young age when we hit the county jail. We're taught about the history, about everything the Carnales, the Familianos went through, the oppression and the wars that they had to fight against the administration. And, it was about unity, security, and safety. And being a close-knit raza was one thing we used to put in our people. It wasn't about all this monetary purposes like you see now. The NF always had those core principles, right? But they were able to advocate a cause and struggle for the Norteno Collective for us to push that line. And at that time, in the 80s and 90s, anybody that's done any time will understand this. There was times where we were being sent down to Calipatria and getting hit. Centinela, we're going down there, 20, 30 homeboys on the yard. Next thing you know, it's cracking off. These are the things that we used to experience. Therefore, there was a lot more togetherness, a lot more unity. But as things started to transform and change, it became more what used to be about a fair and just cause for the people. It became more about a monetary purpose. I crossed that threshold, as when I first became an NR member, I was a dedicated soldado. I was ready to kill or die on that line. That's part of the commitment that you take. Back in the days, some of the terminology that they used to use for NR members was you were getting married, you were getting clicked up. And they used to have a whole different recruiting process as far as a sponsorship, and there were select questions like, are you willing to give your life? Are you willing to take a life? And one of the other questions was, if any one of your family members ever does anything wrong, would you be willing to take their life? And this is how committed the NR was in the early 90s, the structure. And the Norteños, it was the same thing. We didn't have everything as established as you do now. We had to fight for what we had. So it was an honorable and just cause. But over time, as we started to strengthen our numbers and change our direction of where the lucha was going, like I said, absolute power corrupts. And I like to believe that the majority of these young Northerners and Norteños, that they're good gente. They've been instilled with what we used to call fire. They're striving, you know. They're being educated and they're learning the principles of what was basically taught to me and what I passed on to younger Northerners, Norteños throughout my career. So, you know, it's a control mechanism, like I said, you know. But the thing is, I always used to keep the Norteños together was the threat of oppression. Because we used to have such low numbers on these main lines. And everybody knows, you know, it wasn't like it is today where you were communicating with the Sureños and it's all respecto and everything is cool. Back then, you know, when I first was going to Alam, my first couple of years, I never talked to a Sureño unless to say Spencer when we were about to bump into each other or something like that. And I used to keep my arm distance at all times, you know, because it was a whole different type of get down on these main lines back then. There was an absolute, how you say, hostile threat from each other. And it all based upon itself as far as where were our numbers at. So when you take out the oppression equation of being threatened by other races, what ends up happening? We end up turning on our own. As you witness in all these prisons, right? You've had a couple murders in Solano, High Desert, Salinas Valley, all done by Norteños, all done by young Norteños. You know, some of these individuals are coming with 9 to 15 years, and they're willing to kill just because some big homies directing them to do so. And a lot of these calls, I don't know all the details of why some of these individuals are being called. Some of it's a power struggle. Some of it is some of them have a drug problem. You know what I'm saying? We got to remember that everything that, whether you're white, you're functioning in one of these groups, AB, P9, NLR, you're MA, you're functioning as a camarada or sureño or whatever it may be. You know, there's a set expectation of what you represent behind the walls. Therefore, there's an obligation that you may have to uphold within your people, whatever extent you are and wherever you carry yourself. And see, what people fail to realize is this is a big issue within these groups right now. Is the politics within these cycles. Basically everybody's cleaning up their own mess and they're creating issues because there's no longer problems like you had back in the 80s and 90s existing between groups, because everybody's out there in the main lines. They all have one agenda: let's generate money. And they're making some money out there, man. I talked to a lot of individuals that are in contact with actives and other resources, and there's a lot of money that's being generated at this time. But let's look at the key core facts of this. You know, I can sit there, I've broken down certain things of the bonds, the formats, I've broken down the history and the cause and what the Norteño is supposed to be about, you know what I mean? Which is a representation of himself, trying to secure his people and better himself and establish his resources to where he can have a safe place to program and function and enjoy the privileges and incentives behind the wall. Those threats no longer exist. So it's all monetary purpose. And see, within these structures, right, whether you're Sureño or Norteño, right, you're going to have bylaws, expectations that you're supposed to uphold, different mandates. Now, these same mandates are being implemented, right, by other individuals who are from the streets, who have been criminals, murderers, drug addicts, right, came from broken homes, never had any type of employment, a job, never were a productive member of society, right, trying to instill things such as education, discipline, and a political structure. Anything that's man-made is not without faults. Therefore, you're going to have those who are sent to positions. Like you've heard, you know, different individuals like Lancho and Dancing Bear, and I'm sure the whites and Sureños had certain individuals who elevated themselves to stature of positions to where they abused their authority. You know what I'm saying? To where they manipulate these individuals. So, in looking at this question, I think the majority of Northerners and Norteños, right, who believe in the cause and movement, you know, are solid. They're good individuals. They're trying to make the best of a bad situation. You know, NF's a whole different story. You know what I'm saying? A lot of you newly recruited NF members, you know, you start to go through your process of your indoctrination and you know, some of them haven't even been on the streets functioning. It's a whole different ballgame. But as these individuals start to elevate themselves within their rank and they learn the politics, there's a lot of maneuvering. There's a lot of basically there's a lot of telling on each other. You know what I mean? Anytime something doesn't go someone's way, someone's either going to be held accountable or someone's going to tell. Therefore, people are always writing reports. You know, this person did this and did that. And the person who comes out in the end is always the one who's more beneficial or more resourceful or has that certain relationship with the right person, you know. But, I had to really sit there and think about this question, man, because I don't think the majority, what I'm saying, of Northerners or Norteños are not solid. You know what I'm saying? We're taught such terms as responsive obedience. And what that means is we follow the chain of command. Whatever implementations or directives that are given, we're taught to not even question, just to follow it. And that's the early stages that are basically instilled into you as you're a Northern or Norteño is you follow the big homie. You know what I'm saying? Or you learn from this person, this channel, right? And not always do these individuals have your best interests at heart. And the best analogy I can give for you guys to understand this is, look at how this country has been the last 4 years, or 5 years, let alone 8 years. There's so much division and internal conflict because everybody feels that they know what's best for the next person. Therefore, you have certain people who power play certain moves, make certain promises, and they get put in key positions. But at the same time, they're both two sides of the same coin. A lot of times, that's what's happening on the hierarchy politic issues, man. To where the only ones that are benefiting are those select few and brass. You know what I'm saying? And the Northerners, Norteños, for the most part, you know what I mean, are being used out there, right, as pawns, as a resource for this cesspool. And what I mean by cesspool, it's everything that we're advocating, promoting, is a bunch of crap. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean that it's negative what's being said, but like Rojo said, what goes around doesn't always come around. It doesn't always come back towards you. So you put in all these years of hard work, making sacrifices, and this, you know what I'm saying? And what you have to show for yourself. You know what I'm saying? I'm no longer hearing about homeboys stepping out, trying to go to college and restructure their life. You know what I mean? I don't hear homeboys out here coming out, raising their kids. I'm hearing more homeboys coming out, trying to engage in illegal activities, trying to look after the homeboys behind the walls. You know what I'm saying? In their kitchen cases, man. I was one of those individuals because my ego got so much in the way that I was blinded to what really was the reality of what these gangs and organizations push. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like I said, the majority of Northerners and Norteños, man, a lot of you guys are active out there to listen. Sureños too, Southsiders, man. I think the majority of us have good hearts, right? But we're living in a world, you know what I'm saying, that basically, it's, how do you say it? We're living in a world with human tendencies, and humans aren't without fault. Therefore, how can you put your life in anybody else's hands? You're going to fail every time because you're never going to get the results that you want, what's in your best interest. Now, I get it. If you catch a case, you got to do what you got to do when you come behind these walls. You know what I'm saying? I don't promote SNY. I don't support these SNY gangs. I don't care if you do go SNY. That's not my trip. When I'm sitting here doing these little spills for you guys, right, is to enlighten the listeners and to give you a whole different idea of a better way of life to live for you so you don't make the same choices that other people have made. And be a continuous cycle of this, what you call insanity. Repeating the same things over and over again, but and expecting the different results. It's like these regiments, they keep on trying to make different changes. I just read a whole thing, and I'm going to do an interview. It's going to be the whole regiment structure implementations that came from the Bay before the end of hostilities. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, it's the same thing that I went through. They expanded a little bit, they changed a little bit of things, but we're not learning from our mistakes. If we really care about the betterment of our gente, then why are we killing people behind the walls because maybe he's on some dope? Or why are we killing someone because maybe he lost a cell phone? Why are we killing people for these certain choices? You got these 24-year-old kids that are coming in, man. And I know, man, because I see these 20-year-old kids out there on the streets. They're not mentally capable to understand the grasp of what's really going on. And they get sucked into this vacuum to where they don't understand this lifestyle till it's too late. And a lot of times it's that ego that gets in the way to where, you know what, man, this is who I am. I don't want to ever be bad. I already overcommitted myself. I got involved in the ENR by the time I was 18 years old. I was already striving behind the walls. I was already pushing that agenda. That seed was planted. And that same cycle is going on. But I'm looking at it from this perspective, what is there really to fight for now? What is the cause and struggle? Where is the threat with oppression? There is none. It doesn't exist. And without that threat of oppression, what ends up happening, we turn on our own. So this was a really question I had to really sit there and think about. And you know, there's a lot of homeboys that are still active, man. I got a lot of love for, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not against the cause. I'm not against the struggle. You know what I'm saying? I'm not with all the organization because I see what that organization turned into. I see it's all about the money. You know what I'm saying? I see how just a select few are the ones that are benefiting. I've seen a lot of good seeds fall out of favor because of favoritism, because of bad calls, or even because maybe they messed up and lost some money. You know what I'm saying? If, who are these individuals to play God and decide who's to live, who's to be functioning, who's to do it, to do this. So when I do these spills, man, I just want to sit there and, you know, it's not about telling people, hey, you know what, don't be a homeboy, don't be a sureño, don't be this. That's your choice. But I'm trying to sit there and let you guys know there's a whole different way you can live your life. And you don't have to make these choices and get sucked up into the same lifestyle that the only result that we see is negative. Take care of your family, take care of your kids. You know what I'm saying? Be positive, learn a trade. You know, if you can take that same discipline in there where you're getting up every morning at 4:30, rolling up your mattress, busting down 1,000 burpees, doing a 10,000 word essay, right? Going on the yard like this, having some keister. Is that really a way that you're something that you're supposed to be proud of? Is that what really being a soldier is about? Those are circumstances that are just supposed to be there just to protect yourself. But to me, we've gone too far with it, you know. And so for whether you're active or inactive, whether you're on the main line or whether you're in SNY, man, if you're doing the right thing and you're a good person, I respect what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all about taking care of your family. It's not about living this lifestyle, man. You know what I mean? I used to move a lot of dope. You know what I mean? I used to be a part of this vicious cycle. You know what I'm saying? I got sucked up into it. And you get to this threshold, right? When you start in the beginning, you think it's about this. And then you go too far. You go the throttle this way. And when you get here, you start to realize, wow, everything that I was taught, it isn't what it is. And that's the thing that I want to sit there and try to get out there, man, and try to promote. So, like I said, as far as Norteno Collective and even some seeds, there's a lot of seeds that I know, you know what I'm saying, that are solid individuals, man, that like I always said, there's always those seeds out there that they're still an NR member. They really care about the people. But those responsibilities and obligations that they have start to suck them up. It doesn't come. It comes to a point to where it's no longer about helping the people. It's about protecting your own behind, and that's what happens when you go that far within the organization. And as far as the Northerners and Northanians, a lot of them are blind to what's really going on. They're just pieces to the puzzle. They just want to have that respect and ego because this is all they have for the moment. This is the life that they're living. So with that said, man, take care out there. Take care of your families, man. I wish you all the best. Stay healthy. Stay safe. This is Flacco. Hit the like and subscribe button.